welcome. My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, presenters, the Core New Core, my patrons, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor, student, or human being. I added human being recently because when it comes to core new tension, that's a biomechanical thing, and that's pretty true of the natural structure of any human being, right? And then when it comes to Pilates, MMP is just one view of Pilates among yours and mine and everybody else's. What makes it different is that most everybody else's is based on a presumption of inexplicability, meaning that Pilates is some principles and it's undefined and what the culture makes of it. Maybe that's true, but that's not the MMP point of view, and that as one view out of many, it's different from most of the many because it's based on an explanation of Pilates. It's based on a theory that Pilates can be explained, and as such gives you a point of reference other than what else is out there in bulk or predominantly. Blah blah, where'd all the, human. 3 things on my list today. I thought it would be easier. The difference between teaching and instructing. And a quote, "That's where we are," by Susan Herrera, a news broadcaster on a network. Okay, so. Number 1, I thought it would be easier, but definitely happy I'm planning the next one. My webinar, Tuesday nights, 5:30, meant to be a mat class. People signed up and paid. That's the most important part right there. Add 2 and 2. I was able to put something out there that I could teach, that people could sign up and pay for, that they showed up, and it was a learning experience for everyone. That was recorded, and someone that signed up and didn't make it, it wasn't automatic, but I was able to send them the link to the recording. Why am I telling you this? Because you can do this. If all of a sudden you're trying to maintain a connection of what? Of what you're able to instruct or what you're able to participate in as instruction, either end of that, well, then I guess that takes it to number 3. That's where we are. Where we are is that it makes a difference now whether you're teaching live and in person or just live. And in person is definitely better. All those opportunities for moving around and tactile cueing and just the 2 energies together, that being involved in the cosmos that way. In person's better, more intimate for sure. But it doesn't necessarily have to mean the cessation of communication, both and going both ways. I thought it would be easier, but I'm learning the platform, which I highly recommend, and I'm learning what it's costing and what's involved and how to work things. So for the people that signed up and showed up, or even signed up for the March 10th, 2020, the 03/10/2020, was my first webinar meant to be a mat class And I say meant to be because of number two. Number two, the difference between teaching and instructing. Doing and teaching Pilates is a high art, all its own, uniquely defined by our biology and the physics that we find ourselves in. The sculptor is Joseph Pilates in designing the choreography that is a reaction of preparation out of wanting to survive. It's about surviving. And here in the midst of a pandemic where everyone is retreating, it's just bizarre being part of it. And in the era of that, and seeing everyone pulling in and losing their ability to be in person. I mean, I live as a hermit, so I don't go that way. I'm coming from my cave, realizing that in wanting to make my speech about what I'm passionate about, no one's hiring speakers because everyone's withdrawing. Self-quarantining, social distancing. And in all of that, it's about surviving. It's about being able to do the mat. That means doing exercises in a row that flow and mirror, if not are, the exact exercises of the mat. And so one of the reasons it's harder than I thought is because I wanted to watch visuals from others' cameras in order to deliver my mat, and yet I ended up here directly broadcasting like this through the camera of my laptop rather than my phone. So I would come across ghosty imagery, blurry like those budget black and white scary movies. But the voice was there, and I could have turned the video off, and then it just would have been all audio, and I was trying to get feeling things out. So if you want to know more about that, in terms of specifics of cost and company and structure and strategy, I plan a webinar on that. You're on my email list, right? Go to michaelmillerpilates.com and sign up for the email list. Because my number two topic, alright, hold on, slow down. What is the difference between teaching and instructing? The difference between teaching and instructing. Now, for whatever distinctions you might make on that, or the way you might look at that, I don't know. But I can tell you clearly, from my point of view, the distinction is that when you teach, you ask a person to think, and when you instruct, you ask a person to do, to move, right? Your instruction is meant to initiate or guide the moving going on. What I came to appreciate from my attempt at presuming I was just going to be able to deliver a mat class like I'm accustomed to in person, which I haven't done for a while, is to see how much of my thinking would overwhelm, that's a good word, overwhelm the moment to where I'm thinking and not instructing. And it's in the instruction that this webinar was meant to be about. It's meant to be a mat class. It's meant to be able to tune in and listen to the instruction and follow the instruction in your pursuit of the way you move, or the moving the way the instructions are. Let's call Margaret. Check with your insurance company, right? Tell them I sent you. Tell them I sent you. Okay, so call Margaret. So my number 3, my last thing today, was the end of a news update by Sue Herrera on CNBC. And after news on the status of things within the pandemic, she ends with, that's where we are. Just like there's the news and that's where we are. And if you keep in mind that from my world, Pilates is about surviving, because Joseph Pilates was a survivor. His method is survival training. It's in the pursuit of that and the focus of that the Pilates method is a performance of exercises all done in a flow, right? In the pursuit of a complete coordination of your being, your thinking, and your observing. The 3 things you're capable of as a human being, that is the coordination of those that you apply toward the pursuit of your moving. Not just body and mind, but observing. The connection and coordination between your hippocampus and your amygdala areas of your brain that feed information into all this thinking going on. That's MMP. It's very simple, but in that simplicity is the artistry of knowing that's what you're reaching for in an individual, say, that lives in their mind and their thinking, and they have no inclination to coordinate with on a very equal basis, I guess, right? Complete coordination is not intellectual domination, because the intellect has to listen to the input of what it's like out there. So that's where we are. And I encourage you to reach out and try to establish and develop your capability of delivering your words, your instruction, your classes, your teaching to an audience that you no longer can be a part of in person. Tomorrow I think I'll try to organize that briefly and do it in the format of a webinar, because for me to you, that's the platform to establish yourself on. For a number of reasons that I'll list in my scouting report for broadcasting online, for teaching online. Beyond what I'm doing with is the phone, and that's to anybody that shows up that comes. And I do it when I want. In the webinar frame of reference, it's about a time slot that you can easily put into the time slot that you maintain in a calendar on the web or in your computer. Google, Yahoo, Hotmail, calendars. I'll go into that more. I'll be more organized during my webinar. And that's where we are. So this is all about surviving. Pilates is all about surviving. And so understanding, if you're a Pilates instructor right now with no worries, I would recommend you teaching your people, some of the mat work that they probably already have done somewhere along the way, but not with all the fun of the studio. Reformer, Cadillac, chair, springs, pedal all the bells and whistles, right down to the nuts and bolts of hopefully a padded mat for your spine, and then doing the mat work and finding what? The experience. And what is that experience? That's a coordination of your being, thinking, and observing. That means it's you becoming more present in the moment, more connected to what you're sensing in the moment, and through doing the choreography, developing the capability to respond to whatever comes up in that moment within the arena that you find yourself in. Organic in nature, water-based, walking around on a planet with gravity, having to distribute that load as well as possible, to move as well as possible, to survive. He was a sitting duck because he couldn't move. He was really hard to hit because he could move so well. They have movies about guys like that, crawling over the ceiling like a spider, like Spider-Man. So that phrase I came up ending with, in terms of thinking about surviving, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And maybe you've never heard that before, but that seems to have been around when I was growing up. And in the frame of mind of Pilates, and Pilates is moving, that when the moving gets tough, the tough get moving. Which calls attention to how important moving is. For you as a student, if you're used to your instructor, wouldn't you like to hear them deliver their class the way you're used to getting it, when you're used to getting it? And to be able to pay for that so easily, unless you don't do PayPal. I'm laughing at a common attitude within humanity, for whatever reason, and there's usually some kind of good reason, but they just don't do PayPal. And all I can do is say, okay, because that's the only way I do. That's the only way this platform does. So, when the moving gets tough, the tough get moving. And so in getting moving and staying moving, in surviving, I encourage you to do the unthinkable and stand so far back from your students, you can't even believe you're not even in the same room, and still try to deliver what is unique to you. And then, to me, that would be delivering, hopefully, what MMP's point of view is, and that is that Pilates is an experience. And so my attempt at delivering the experience was a radio channel that went in and out last night during my broadcast, because I'd fall out of trying to instruct and then start thinking and talking and leaving a person trying to follow instruction out in the cold, like hitting friction and distraction out of the pursuit of the moving. And so that my point today is talking about the difference between teaching and instructing, and how hard it is to maintain a stream of instruction, at least for me, and If not in my own mind, then in the response from somebody, live and in person, the intensity can get really deep in just trying to follow along, and somebody that just is overwhelmed in their mind can say, "Oh, I got a question." The mind wants to maintain thinking within its perspective. And it's up to you to handle in the moment, address it personally while you keep instructing everybody else. That's difficult but doable. That's part of the art, right? You teach with one person from the eye contact you have with them, 2 people away, and you're tactily informing somebody here with where you're positioning them. And your instruction to the whole group is still happening to where they're chasing the rabbit and finding an attempt at focusing on what you're instructing them to do. That's hard. But it was fun, and I look forward to the next class, Tuesday night, 5:30, Rocky Mountain time. And I plan on other times for other things, like this webinar on teaching live but not in person, teaching online. I don't like calling it virtual because virtual doesn't contain the element of live in it. That's part of what this is about, it seems, a webinar. Live can't live forever. Read between the lines, see behind the curtain, connect the dots, evaluate points of view. Know how to add 2 and 2. And right now, maintaining your income stream and teaching online seems to be a pretty good way of trying to continue surviving, doing what you love. Just a big step backward from the degree of intimacy with your student, proximity perhaps of your student. Did I say read between the lines? Know how to add 2 and 2. Direct your thinking. Go right for the flag at a dead run through every place, everything you don't know about. Otherwise, all the stuff that you could get distracted by or think you need to know will distract you from getting to where you want to go. The flag on the top of the hill, all the way through what might consume you if you got distracted by it. It's working for me. I encourage you to pursue that strategy. And of course, sign up for my webinars, the ones that intrigue you and you feel might be worth the price. That's adding 2 and 2. Direct your thinking. And then, of course, Geist.